They have pepper sprayed and shot live ammunition without thinking about the repercussions, the PTSD, the trauma that runs through the veins of many of the people and veterans at camp. These men have disrespected ceremony by pissing on sacred belongings like pipes and staffs. They have broken chanupas and held people in dog cages. For goodness sakes, this should be a red flag for you to understand that the country you live in is not safe for everyone. Holy Elk, a Lakota leader, stood in front of a line of riot police when the last child camp was raided and asked them, "Why are you doing this to us? Why don't you come to our side?" And the man is standing in front of her with tears on their eyes, flowing through their cheeks, responded that he couldn't because he will be court-martialed. That is the power women hold in this prairie. Planes and helicopters fly every day around 4 a.m. and spray chemicals on what has been tested to be fiberglass. People are sick. Some are coughing blood. Many elders and grandmothers have left camp to recover, only to come back stronger. In this type of environment, women are raising children and turning education into resistance so that we all have a future. Mothers lift up prayers every day, which is the key of melting the colonial pot and thrive in an indigenous realm. It is a tool for empowerment for our nations to have our mothers stand up for true sovereignty. Sovereignty is non-negotiable. Women in these grass plains are unapologetically indigenous, standing tall with a fist and medicine, telling the entire world that our nations won't perish while we are here. Winona's kitchen is traditional Lakota food, crafting a smile in those who carry a heavy spirit. Her food represents the strength of the land and is able to restore the dignities of people who have been brutalized. Camps will stay as long as there are kitchens. But please never underestimate the power of a meal cooked in prayer and a Lakota unchi behind a buffalo stew. The black snake killers are unchis, sisters, mothers, warriors. The unchis or grandmothers have decades of experience in the fight and they could put to shame any lawyer. They know about law and tactics better than anyone that I've ever met before. They are empowering young women to step up and fight. They told us that we are given a fight by the Creator, and as the 7th generation, it is our time. We are the water carriers and the water protectors, and we will make our children proud. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., our camps will be raided, and we risk to be brutalized and jailed. Me and a warrior sister sitting in the crowd will return to camp, and I hope one of you join us. And if you're not able, become a witness to what's going to happen tomorrow, and pray. Please pray. When I told my mother, she said, "That is my daughter. She is proud." But we must never forget that we stand in ceremony. Our resistance is the biggest ceremony and by nature nonviolent. The many pipelines, mines, logging, nuclear development programs, they all reside where our people inhabit. To tell the story of the colonized sacred motherhood is to acknowledge a common origin for all. The world needs of indigenous motherhoods to guide movements so that we can break the cycle. It is time to change the patriarchal image that we have of governments. So if you want to help construct these worlds, 1, know where you come from and honor your ancestors. 2, decolonize your identity and raise your children to embody the philosophy of your people. Hold on to the land that will become part of this new identity and do not be a liability for your people's resistance. You must give everything you have and fight with every fiber. Honor your grandmothers, mothers. Learn the stories of your families and heal. For the honor you gave your people, stand up. Stand up for your rights, one and for all. And understand that we don't have time. Earn your feathers and the eyes of the old ones will be upon you. Sinchi samay runakuna. We are Ocheti Oyate. Our ancestors stand with us, fighting the black snake. Mini wichoni, water is life. Mini wichoni, water is life. Thank you.
think we all just heard gold today. So I want to ask the question, how are we all doing? Probably more than good, right? Well, you probably recognize me from maybe 2 or 3 years ago, standing on this exact same spot, giving a speech about North Korea. Specifically, I was talking about the need to stop making fun of the horrific realities of the concentration camps and refugee experiences in North Korea. Well, afterwards, I heard people refer me to as the girl who spoke about North Korea. With all limited time and relationships, I became one-dimensional. The truth is, I didn't want to be recognized as North Korean girl or have people's heads ringing ring ding ding when they saw a photo of Kim Jong-un or emancipated refugees. So this time, since you guys are more or less forced to listen to me, I decided to give a speech about myself. Yes, you heard me correctly. I'm going to use the stage to give an 8 to 11 minute speech about myself, and you all have to listen to it. The power of listening is a beautiful thing. So a formal introduction begins with my name, or, well, before I launch into the specifics of how I grew up or what my personality is like, I just want to ask one question. What do you think I am? Before anyone asks me anything, one thing is precisely evident. I am Asian. Yeah. And it might seem a little bit odd, but I just want to ask the question, what do you think that even means? Honestly, I don't know, but people around me are extremely keen on defining what it means. Your English is super fluent. Yeah, I know I grew up here, and what if my English wasn't fluent? I know you're from Goshen, but where are you really from? Well, my passport says Canada, so I guess I'm from Canada. Where else? Okay, you're Asian, right? Okay, let me try this out. Konnichiwa. No. I'm not Japanese. And Koreans, we never bow like this. I'm not here to rant about my problems, but I do want to identify what is being said about me. According to the world, being Asian means a couple of things. Sometimes it means I'm not fluent in English. Sometimes I'm universally Chinese or Japanese. Sometimes I'm supposed to know Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Taekwondo, and Karate. Unfortunately, I can't perform any of these tasks because I'm not proficient in the martial arts. You see, not all Asians are ninjas. But one thing is extremely evident. It means I'm constantly labeled as a perpetual foreigner, defined as, it doesn't matter how long my family has lived here, I will never be seen as a citizen of this nation, or in this case, I won't be ever seen as an American citizen. Some of you, perhaps from different ethnic backgrounds or an immigrant family, may have heard this question before. Where are you from? A United Nations tour guide asked me this last fall, and I stuttered. I also stutter when I'm freakishly nervous, and we were playing those terrible introductory games where people go down row by row, giving an elevator speech about oneself. And by the time it's my turn, my brain just farts. I was born here, but I grew up here, and then I moved. I don't really know how. And the tour guide, she just gives me like this quizzical brow and then makes an incoherent sound similar to the grunt of a gorilla. Well, I think she's trying to communicate to me that I'm also a gorilla. Somewhat human, somewhat animal. I obviously have issues because I can't define or where I come from as one singular entity. I could have easily answered Asia or Korea, but once I do that, I become nothing other than Asian. And it doesn't take into consideration that although I may have been born in South Korea, I never went to Korean school, and I grew up in North America for most of my life. So here begins my little story. I was born to lovely, wonderful parents, June and Shim, and there were wonderful, idiosyncratic moments in my life where it reflected Korean culture. My grandmother sometimes lived with us, and we would have occasional family gatherings. We celebrated the harvest moon, and on one occasion, I got to wear a badass Korean robe, bow to my elders, and I could collect money. Those were the good times. Then my dad, he decided to study in the United States, and we all packed up, we jumped ship, or more like planes, to good old United States of America. And we first moved to Vermont, United States, and this would become our first American experience. In this place, I got to participate in Halloween. My mom had picked up these little pathetic-looking mummy paper glasses at the local Price Mart, and my sister and I went around town trick-or-treating. Then my dad, he quit his job too, and we headed westward to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. The label of immigrants was slapped onto each of our wrists as we headed to Vancouver. And here, I experienced a hodgepodge of cultures. For me, it never felt like we stayed put in one place. We were constantly moving every 2 to 3 years, and each environment was completely different than its own. For example, in one city, I was surrounded by a lot of Asian Canadian friends, and if I brought a bowl of ramen noodles for lunch, I became the bomb.com. And then in a different city, if I uttered the word seaweed, people would part like the Red Sea and would cringe. Is this confusing for you? Yes, no, maybe so. Well, growing up, it sure confused me. So, does this make me less Korean, less Asian? Heck no. No. Being Korean is a special part of me, but it doesn't become the sole experience of my life. It doesn't mean I'm less Korean, less American, or less Canadian. You see, when I'm with my Korean friends, I feel most like a North American. And when I'm with my international friends, I feel Korean. I'm an American with Canadians, and I feel extremely Canadian when I compliment my friend's hat by saying, "I really like your toque." My experience is unique, and my experience is ultimately mine. The purpose of my speech is not about breaking stereotypes, but it might have a rippling effect in challenging generalizations. I didn't come up here to cite fancy dissertations or journals, and as you can see, there is no great research done on my speech. I chose to speak today, and I saw this as an opportunity to talk about an issue within the climate of this politically divided country that I saw as extremely applicable, vital, and mandatory. Sometimes we need simplicity in our understanding of each other, At the same time, we need to realize that each person carries a complicated bag of stories. Author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie stated, "When we reject the single story, when we realize that there's never a single story about any place, we regain a kind of paradise." We are incomplete. We are unfinished chapters, and we continue to learn. I'm willing to tell you my story, and I'm willing to listen to yours. Are you? Thank you.
You're my favorite gorilla. Though. Hi. If you don't know me already or have never seen me running around Goshen College, I just want to clarify one thing. I'm not in the track team. I just run around because I'm always late for classes. My name is Hitesh, and I'm from Kathmandu, Nepal. And before I begin my speech, I want to share a very interesting information about US-Nepal dynamics. Nepal is obsessed with the United States. I know US has had a huge influence in the rest of the world, but Nepal, I'd say a bit too much. We go overboard with our obsession of the United States. Imagine growing up in that part of the world with name George W. Bush. First name George W. Bush. Yes, I had a friend with that name. And Nepali last name added to it. That is the extent his parents loved the United States, and most people do. They were ready to put their kid through 12 years of schooling back home with that name. But that's not just it. We love American pop songs, we worship Hollywood movies, and we use English as a standard measure of elitism. And worst of them all, we think McDonald's is a real food. I myself am guilty of that, of running to the first McDonald's I saw when I got here. But don't worry, I've never been back there. So yes, Nepal idealizes the United States. So when any prominent person here speaks anything about empowerment of minorities, of women, of LGBTQ people, their sound travels from their podium and echoes all over the Great Himalayas. We hear them. So naturally, last year, when Hillary Clinton said, "To every girl, little girl who dreams big, yes, you can be anything you want, even president," the girls back home cheered with spirit of hope and tears of joy, sharing her quotes online on Facebook and dreaming of the day that they too will break the glass ceiling. But today, I'm not here to talk about them, because they're fine. The girl in Metropolis, the capital city, they have all they want. I mean, they're allowed to go to school and work by the men in their lives, and they have limited voice in social circles and political spheres. What more could they ask for, right? I mean, they have everything they want. I mean, there is occasional rapes, molestation, physical abuse, domestic abuse, but who's counting? Most of the times, it's not even reported. Because if you go on to report it, there are chances that they themselves might get blamed for it, or even indicted. Even recently, an Indian politician went on TV and said, raped women should be hanged. And the other one who had a genius idea about protecting women, he said, nothing will happen to women if they are parked at home like cars. So yes, I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about these girls because they're fine. I mean, I don't need to talk about their struggles of oppression, of being constantly reminded that they'll never be equal to men, and there'll always be lesser sex. And I'm not even here to talk about my cousin, my independent, well-earning cousin, who was forced to stay in an abusive relationship by their family because modest women, they don't leave their husbands. She committed suicide, tired of domestic abuse by her husband, who walks free, by the way, and happily married again, like nothing happened. And probably will continue the same vicious cycle. Some other women will die, and he'll walk free. Why? Because he's a man. He's the alpha sex. That's what he has been told, and that's what he has learned. But no, I'm not here to ask for justice for my cousin either. Why am I here then? What am I here for? I don't know. Why am I standing here asking for political, economical, and social equality of genders? why am I here? I actually don't know why I'm here, why I do that, and why I work for it. Maybe it's because of my faith, or maybe because that's how I was raised, by a strong grandmother who was married off when she was 13 and got widowed when she was 20, and raised her 2 kids all by herself at that time when women neither had identity nor any space in the society. For my mother, who's one of the strongest person I know, or my sister, who's the smartest person I know, who is a superior sibling, but if she was here, I'd never admit to it. So yeah, I'm from the part of the world where even that is not the worst thing that could happen to women. So that's why I'm here, to remind you, all of you, why your advocacy matters, why your feminism matters, because your feminism might travel to Nepal and solve one of the most outrageous human rights violations of the time and save the lives of thousands of girls. I'm here today to advocate for girls to whom even the voices of intersectional feminists and even Hillary Clinton has not been able to reach. The girls for whom ceiling is not made of glass, it's made of concrete. The girls who, let alone dream big, have forgotten to dream altogether. The girls whose life ends before it even starts to begin. Every year, thousands of girls from age 7 and up are being sold for slavery and prostitution from Nepal, nationally and internationally, sometimes by their relatives, sometimes by their in-laws, sometimes by their neighbors, international dealers, sometimes by their own will to sustain their family. The girls who should be, little girls, 7-year-old girls who should be at school learning to be independent are being locked away in brothels, being stripped of their autonomy multiple times every day. The girls who should be holding a pencil waiting for the teacher are holding in condoms, waiting for strange men to come and exploit their modesty multiple times every day, again and again. There is no happy ending for these girls. There is just ending or lifelong suffering. These girls, even if they run away from where they are, or even if they are released, society will not accept them. They'll be left alone to die. The family will not accept them. The society will shun them. So that's the situation, how women are treated. And that's why I'm here, to remind you why your feminism matters. And I come from Nepal, and Nepal is a Hindu country. We are 80% Hindu, and I'm a Hindu myself, and I'm proud of my religion because it teaches me to worship women. It teaches me to respect women. We have 3 billion gods and goddesses. We worship almost everything. If we walk and see a stone with a peculiar shape, we'll worship that too. I'm serious. So we have so many examples of strong goddesses like Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, Kali, the goddess of strength, fortune, and wisdom that we all ask for every day. We get them from women and use the same to oppress women. So when we pray every morning and go on to oppress women and femininity, we fail our faith, we fail our culture, we fail the one who gave birth to us, and we fail ourselves. With 13,000 women and little children being trafficked every year, and the number increasing in 2016 instead of decreasing, you can only imagine how much we need in women empowerment. These heinous crimes that are committed against these little girls makes even the everyday struggles of women, like abuse, domestic abuse, like abuse in workplaces, domestic violence, eve-teasing, slut-shaming, raping, it makes even them look like moderate offenses. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here to remind you why your feminism matters. Also, I want to end by saying that I never have and never will believe in setting Western ideals as a benchmark for progress. But I do believe that there's so much that we can learn from here that you can learn from us, in the same way that you can learn from us. And I believe when people are watching United States and idealizing it, you should show an example. So when women are treated as second-class citizens here, just imagine someone there treating women 10 times worse. That's why I'm here to remind you why your advocacy matters. It might go on, travel to Nepal and save these little girls and give them their childhood back, their innocence back, and give them the life they deserve. You have the power. Please make good use of it. Thank you.
Pain in the world seems every time more and more heavy, almost unbearable. It disables our mind, our hearts, our souls to the point of losing hope. It transforms our courage for justice into